This will be an edit session for a package that I will talk my way through, and hopefully it won't be too convoluted, but we'll clean it up if it is. So basically I've got all of my elements loaded in the bin over here on the left. The voice track here that Charles gave me do need to create a sequence, so we'll go Control N to bring up the sequence creation box. We'll go package. This is Ginger at NCANT for the 6 o'clock show. All right, and so we now have a package sequence timeline. I take the voice track and I will preview play it, and I'll make sure it's at the right audio level to start with.
Ginger can help fight the common cold, morning sickness, and chronic indigestion.
So I'll raise the volume on that using the plus button, which is actually the right brackets on a regular keyboard. So I added a little volume to that just to get it to the exact level I want. Then I'm going to use the overwrite key, which is the period key, to insert it to the timeline. And it goes to the A1 channel, which has the A1 next to it here. Different source pieces you select will have different things selected based on what it remembers. So when I go back over here to this, it'll choose V1 and A1 because it knows that's what I've used before. If I go to some of these other clips, and it's not going to do it, but if I chose a clip and used A3, it would automatically default to A3. So some of that stuff's, the machine knows, and it helps you a little bit with choosing your tracks. But for now, let's go through these clips and clean up his track. Use the W key, I used the Q key to ripple back edit on that. And then I'm going to use the razor blade key and just put a slice in between each one of his voice tracks, because I can clearly see his voice track beginning and ends. And I'll go back to the V key to get my pointer back, and I'll go to the end of each track
Farmers.
And use the W key to ripple edit to the next edit. Boom. Q key.
The valuable resource is their help.
W key. Q key.
Ginger can help his tag.
W key. Q key. Q now. And I'm using the J, K, and L. I don't know if I talked about that. J, K, and L. K is a stop key. J and L goes forward and reverse. J for reverse, L for forward. And when you use those keys, you can play.
Domestically, Ginger is
play faster, and it'll play faster the more you press it. So J, K, and L are your 3 fingers that you can use real quick to play, fast forward even faster. And then you can use the space bar to stop and play also. There's another little trick. I'm going to W key, Q key.
Researchers have a lot of promise.
W, Q.
If the data to root for.
W, Q.
In Greensboro, Charles Ewing, Fox 8 News.
And W. So now I have the timeline all cleaned up. I have his tracks are back to back to back. And let's go see what his first soundbite is. So his first soundbite is right after that track, and it is 11:48:31 with this man here. And I'm gonna click on the timecode box, highlight it blue, 11:48:31, 00 frames, enter, endpoint. And I'll adjust it.
We try to find a solution and find another avenue for farmers to get more, income.
And then an out point. So I'll put an in and an out on the clean, and I'll use the insert key to stick that soundbite between those 2 tracks.
To North Carolina farmers.
We try to find a solution and find another avenue for farmers to get more, income.
The valuable resource.
And I'll do the rest of those. 11:33:59.
Ginger is one of the most important spices. People's diet almost everything from ginger for most people.
Insert that in between. Go to the next one. 11:35:47.
Famer ginger. Famer ginger is sold about up to $20 per pound in your farmer's market. So that's a great location for farmers to grow and make some money.
In point and out point there on his soundbite.
Or spike.
And I will insert it. Now also, moving like this back and forth between edit points is the up and down key. So if you have an edit point or a split, you can use the up down key to go between things. And here's where these right here come into play. When these inside right hand column V1, A1, A2, whatever, when they're turned off, you cannot go between edit points. They make that inactive, which really comes into play when you have something way up on V2. If I have V1 turned off and A1 turned off, I can't go anywhere. If I have V1 turned on, now I can go between those edit points, but it won't let me go any farther than right there because I don't have A1 turned on, and now I can go farther down the line. So there's a quick tip to get back and forth the edit points. Let's put this next soundbite in. This is a stand-up 120703, which is right here.
And here we go. Like most crops in North Carolina, you're looking for a high production and very little disease. Researchers here at UNT believe they found the right variety of ginger for North Carolina farmers to try.
And he's on channel 1 still, so we'll just lay that one in.
Researchers are using a technique called micro-propagation.
Back to the other doctor. I think that's this guy. 114701. Oh, wrong guy. This guy. 114701 and frames. Enter endpoint.
But ours data shows the tissue culture ginger seedlings have higher yield than the conventional seed sprout ginger seed.
And then out point, and then the comma key to insert that soundbite in between those two tracks.
If the data continues to go in the right direction,
And then 114059. 114059 and some frames, endpoint,
We are so excited because our farmers are excited. So that's what research for.
out point, and insert that in, and that is the A roll for this package. So we'll go back and see how all of these
this ain't
sound bites clean up.
to North Carolina farmers.
We try to find a
Clean.
more
Now, from here, I'll use the J key to back it up a second. Pause it, play,
income.
The valuable resource
clean.
to maintain their health.
Ginger is
A little bit too much of a gap in between that. You can go back and clean it up with a little W key to tighten it up a little bit, a little Q key on this side just to tighten it up a little bit.
ginger is probably one of the most important spices
Ginger can
for most people.
Just tighten it up a little using the ripple edits on the Q and W keys.
help fight the common cold, morning sickness.
Gamer ginger can be sold about up
Domestically,
Oops, I gotta listen to this one.
price tag.
gamer ginger
Yep.
to grow and make some money.
Domestically,
And if you notice, I haven't used the mouse a lot. It's hard to tell because you're just listening, but I'm using exclusively the keyboard for the most part.
direction.
Like most crops in North Carolina,
Researchers are using a technique called micro-propagation.
But
I'm gonna Q key to tighten that up.
Out of promise.
but ours data shows the tissue culture ginger of ginger.
If the data continues,
Conventional seed sprout ginger.
Now I zoomed in so I could see because there was a little bit of an audio clip there, and that's where the soundbite ends. So I'll use the W key.
if the data continues to
We are so excited because our farmers are excited. So that's what research for.
W key to tighten this one up. Use the Q key on the other side of that cut.
Okay, that's what research for.
But I'm gonna undo twice, and I'm gonna go back and show you one more way to cut bits and pieces out of a timeline.
Research for.
I can put an in point
in,
and an out point, and you can delete that whole little segment,
So that's what research for.
and then, all right, there's a pause, there, pause,
Research for.
and then
in green.
you can close that gap by filling that space and hitting the backspace key. Or another step, just another alternative, is when you have your in point and out point, and then use the command key at the same time as the backspace key, it will delete and fill the gap. Now there's a little bit of an awkward piece there. It has to know that that's what you want to delete. Sometimes it'll be stuck on something else and it won't do it. So be careful doing that. You might have something else selected. If you have a piece selected here, and then you put an in point and an out point, it's going to delete the one that's selected over here to the left instead of this one first like this. That's the backspace key. Come back out of it, it's not selected now, and now it'll delete the one I wanted to delete. Take note of that. So I'm going to go back and get this like I wanted
In
it.
Greensboro, Charles Ewing, Fox 8 News.
And then my next step is I add a audio dissolve to every cut real quick. So I'll click on that with the mouse, click on that edit, and I'll use the audio dissolve shortcut, Control-Shift-D. And then double click on that and I will make it 7 frames. If you double click on any transition, it'll give you the duration availability, and there's also a shortcut to do it, which is I can't remember that shortcut. Timeout. So got that. I've got that. So now that I have that 7 frame audio dissolve, I can Control C and copy it. Control C for copy, and I can go to every edit on the timeline and Control V, Control V, Control V, all the way down the line to have a nice little dissolve, and it gets rid of any pops between the edits.
Atlanta Farmers.
We try to find us.
Makes a nice smooth transition between. So now I have an A-rolled package ready to go. I am going to create a 1 second gap at the beginning to start this thing off with. So I'm going to use the A key for select. I'm going to select the whole package, and I'm going to move it to the right by 1 full second by doing Command Shift and using the right arrow key. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Because it moves 5 frames at a time, and that would be 12 of them would be a full second. So now that I've got it moved down a second, that opens up the pre-roll. You want the actual package to start 1 second into the timeline to give it a chance to hit the way we cut for on the air. Then I'll add B-roll.
This A&T University.
So I'm going to start at the top with a little Nat sound right here on this one. Nat sound is on channel 3, so I'll use a second or so of that. In point, out point, and let's make sure I've got channel 3 selected, channel 1 turned off, and I will insert, so it'll push the beginning of my track down another second or so. And then I'm going to drag, and this is in the V key selected, I'm going to drag this back. And this is basically extends that clip backwards. So the point where I started is still right here, right there. I'm just extending back into the clip. And if you notice, both of these, when I click on it, I'm clicking on that and holding it. Highlights red, which means it's going to move both. If you ever want to move them one at a time, you push the Alt key down, and I may have said Command before, so it's the Alt key on a Windows keyboard, just to the right of the Windows sticker key. It's the Alt key, Alt, and will let you open up and pull one channel at a time. Ordinarily, they're locked together. It's a locked clip, linked clip, or the Alt key lets you move one track at a time independently. So if you want to extend something out. For now, I'm going to listen to his track and figure out what I need to do.
This A&T University Farm greenhouse is filled.
Obviously, the sound is too hot, so I'm going to drag the sound down. So here's where you mess with your sound. I opened up right here, clicked on the little line, and I opened it up a little bit, which you can also do with a shortcut, the Alt and plus minus key at the top. So the Alt and plus minus keys on the number line, or the control for the video lines, use the control key, and it does the video lines separately. So the Alt key does the audio lines. So now that I've got that, you've got the line here to adjust the volume. I'm going to put an audio dissolve at the beginning, Control-Shift-D.
This A&T.
And then I'm going to do something different here. Whoops. I'm going to put a key point here. So the control key, far left-hand key on the bottom row, hold it down. It gives you that little plus sign, lets you add a keyframe. I'm going to add 2 keyframes. And then I'm going to do ramp it down.
This A&T University Farm greenhouse. This A&T University
And I'm going to get it like I want it and
Farm
move on.
greenhouse is filled with tall green plants.
So endpoint, outpoint to go with his track there. So we'll find what he wants. This shot here. I'm going to overwrite now this shot in. And it gives me this fit clip menu because I've got both an endpoint and an outpoint on the timeline and an endpoint and outpoint on the source. And the source is a 51-second selection and the timelines is a 2-second selection. So it needs to know, are we changing the speed of this clip to fit it? Are we ignoring one of the outpoints? So we're going to ignore the source outpoint right here because we only want it to fill this gap here, and we hit OK, and it drops it in for us. I'm going to adjust the audio down to match. Put a little dissolve there. We can do that now or later, but I'll do it now.
Greenhouse is filled with tall green plants. Plants that could one day bring
I'm going to go find the next shot. That shot should work. Inserting it in, ignoring the source outpoint. Adjusting the audio.
plants that could one day bring a lot of green to North Carolina. To North Carolina.
Another shot, ignore the out point.
Bring a lot of green to North Carolina farmers.
We try to find a solution.
Little match edit here of this guy pulling a plan out. I'm going to go back and put a dissolve in all of these. I'm going to do the copy, Control C, Control V again.
Plants that could one day bring a lot of green to North Carolina farmers.
We try to find a solution.
And I overlap that
We
edit
try to find a
at the end just to give it a little, and I'm going to extend using the Alt key to pull that audio out a little, and I'll put a dissolve on the end of that to let it ramp out.
Carolina farmers.
We try to find a solution and find the another avenue for farmers to get more income.
And then I'll line up an
The
endpoint.
valuable resource is on the bottom of the plant. Ginger is huge because people.
I'll use this.
The valuable resource is on the bottom of the plant.
All right, now I want the shot to last, but the shot didn't last there, so I'm going to use the Y key, the slip tool, and I'm going to adjust it back by dragging with my mouse over the video channel. I'm dragging it so that the end of that clip is still clean. So the beginning's clean now and the end's clean now. The slip tool, so I can go left and right and adjust. The frame on the left in the program monitor is the beginning frame on the clip, and the one on the right is the end frame on the clip. So you can see that if I go here, it's moving around. But if I go here and get to that point right there, I know that the first and last frames in that on the timeline are clean.
The valuable resource is on the bottom of the plant. Ginger.
And then I'll do the next shot.
Ginger is huge because people are looking for natural ways to make.
And I'll go back to my source. And I'll get a shot of him cleaning that plant up, I guess. Always got to be in the V key, the select tool, to manipulate the audio.
Income.
The valuable resource is on the bottom of the plant. Ginger.
Use the Control V to add these dissolves there. And I'm going to use the Alt and drag Drag that back.
The valuable resource is on the bottom of the plant. Ginger is huge because people are looking for natural ways to maintain their health.
Ginger.
Let's see how it looks if I just drag that out.
Ways to maintain their health.
Ooh, there's a little bit of a
To
zip
maintain their
end.
health.
Ginger.
Ways to maintain their health.
Ginger is probably one of the most important.
Also, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Ginger is.
I'm going to go back real quick and adjust all of my audio levels. I did this one right here already just now, but I'm going to go and click and select all of these. So I'm holding the shift button while I select these. That lets me select all of those together. And I'm going to raise them by 6 dB each on the clip plus tool, which is the right bracket key up on the right hand side of the keyboard.
Find a solution.
I forgot they weren't
Famer ginger.
quite loud enough. It
Disease.
sounds like they're all good now. And now I need a shot to go in this little spot here. Let's find the shot.
Our reset.
We'll get this guy walking out of frame. So I'm going to set the out point where he's walking out of frame, and I'm going to get rid of the end point. To get rid of this end point, you can go up here and see markers. You can see all of the shortcuts here. And there's another point. All of the shortcuts are listed. So markers, clear endpoint is Control-Shift-I. Back to the keyboard. On the source, Control-Shift-I. I have an out point. I have an in and an out point. It is going to lay it in based on those two parameters. Overwrite, and it should give me that guy walking out of frame to his soundbite. So here we go. Let's see what it looks like after I do a Control-V for my dissolve.
Ways to maintain their health.
Ginger is probably one of the most important spices.
And I'll adjust that audio to get rid of him talking. Use the Alt and extend. Use the Control and add 2 keyframes.
Probably one of the most important.
And since he starts talking right here, I'm going to ramp that a little better, because I don't need to hear him talking under himself for that split second.
Ginger is probably one of the most important spices. In people's diet, almost every day eat some ginger for most people.
Ginger can help fight the common cold, morning sickness, and chronic indigestion.
Input and out point for this. Let's see. I know I've got these guys over here holding on to this ginger in one of these. So let's go see what we can find. There we go. Got him washing the ginger. How about that? Ignore the out point on the source.
For most people.
Ginger can help fight the common cold, morning sickness, and chronic indigestion. It might even be helpful. It might even be helpful in some treatments as well. So the piper.
We'll get a shot of him walking out with one.
Digestion. It might even be helpful in some cancer treatments as well. So the popular spice comes with a big tag.
Famer ginger can be sold about.
Let's find another shot of these guys holding their ginger.
So valuable.
Oh yeah.
Yes, really.
All right.
In some cancer treatments as well. So the popular spice comes with a big price tag.
Famer ginger can be sold.
And I'm going to use another little trick here. I'm going to use the N key to roll this edit, because I want to cover him a little more before the shot ends. I could do it up here on the video line, but it's going to... Oh, I did it right, never mind. We're going to ignore that last comment, and we're going to do this rolling video edit. It's basically, I'm going to extend this out a little bit. Basically, the rolling edit lets the video from both sides of this edit stay in the same place. You're just moving the actual edit point. So I'm going to slide it out a little bit to just cover his talking for that first brief little bit.
Famer ginger can be sold about up to 20.
And then, of course, I'm going to go back and add my little audio dissolves. I will go back to the V key, use the Alt key to drag this out a little bit. I'm going to drag this one out just a little bit. Let's get it zoom back on the timeline a little bit. I'm going to select these 3 clips, and I'm going to put an audio dissolve on all 3. That is Control-Shift-D, and it puts an audio dissolve on everything that's selected. For those of you that need it, Shift-D is the video dissolve shortcut, Shift-D, and the same thing would apply. Shift-D, and then everything that's selected would get a dissolve, as long as both connected clips are connected, different than the audio one, of course. But anyway, that's sidebar. So I have this.
For most people,
Ginger can help fight the common cold, morning sickness, and chronic indigestion. It might even be helpful in some cancer treatments as well. So the popular spice comes with a big price tag.
Baby ginger can be sold about up to $20 per pound in the farmer's market.
Domestically, ginger is grown in Hawaii. The trick is, how do you get one of the
All right, let's go find some more ginger shots here. He's looking around. Let's see what he's doing.
How do you look? Let's get them.
This is actually the second shot in this sequence. I'm going to lay it in now because I see it. So I'm going to put my...
Domestically, ginger is grown in Hawaii. Trick is, how do you get one of the 9 varieties of a tropical plant to grow in North Carolina?
And I'm going to overwrite that to there with the period key again, an overwrite edit. And then I need to fill in this one. I'm going to select an in and out point for that little gap, and I'm going to go find another shot that works, which I like this one because I did a rack focus. I'm going to go out point on that rack focus and I'm going to clear Control-Shift-I, clear the endpoint so that I'm editing from the out point of this shot onto the timeline with an in and out point. It gives me a edit at that rack focus. Let's click that audio, add my audio dissolves. I'm going to Alt and drag to get those ends dragged out a little bit to give me a little overlap.
And make some money.
Domestically, ginger is grown in Hawaii. The trick is, how do you get one of the 9 varieties of a tropical plant to grow in North Carolina? Or do you go in a new direction?
Like most crops in North Carolina,
I'm going to add a shot here. I didn't really need that dissolve because I'm doing something different here. So I'm going to find the shot that I know I need, which is this one. Endpoint and overwrite. Then I have to clear that rest of that transition, so I'm just going to click on it in backspace to delete it, and I add a new.
Or do you go in a new direction?
like most crops in North Carolina,
Need a little bit more dissolve between Charles's track and Charles's stand up, so I'm going to double click that, set the duration as 21 to help blend that a little better.
In a new direction.
like most crops in North Carolina, you're looking for a high production.
And
Researchers are using a technique called micropropagation or tissue sampling to produce a ginger plant.
Which is the condensate, the half-life of the ginger and sugar, the 2 chemicals, the phytochemical.
gotta find the shot here for this one, because he brought these little things out. Could use that one maybe. We'll use this shot. Nope, I can't. That's got Charles in it. He's in that stand up, so. There it is. That's the shot. Bam. Turn down the audio.
Researchers are using a technique called micropropagation or tissue sampling to produce a ginger plant. Micropropagation or tissue sampling to produce a ginger plant that shows a lot of promise.
But our course laser shows the tissue culture ginger.
Next shot. Now I'm just making sure I lay the right shots in. I'm going to add my dissolves. Drag back my overlap just a little bit. Again, the Alt key and just click and drag.
To try, researchers are using a technique.
Also, just heard that I need a bit more dissolve there, so I'm going to go back and make that 21 frames also.
On farmers to try. Researchers are using a technique called micropropagation or tissue sampling to produce a ginger plant that shows a lot of promise.
For ours,
And that shot needs to be adjusted because it starts coming out of it at the end. So I'll use the Y key slip tool again, and I will adjust it until it's like I want it. Let's see.
To produce a ginger plant that shows a lot of promise.
for ours.
I don't like that shot. So I'm going to find a new shot. Used that one. I can get him.
Are you can tell this all one the same other one that can multiply maybe as many as
Let's find a shot here. Used that one. Alright, I'm going to adjust this shot back and go.
Tissue sampling to produce a ginger plant that shows
I will break these two shots up with that wide shot from here. Overwrite that in, adjust the audio down a little bit. Put a dissolve there and a dissolve there.
sampling to produce a ginger plant that shows a lot of promise.
for ours. Data shows the tissue
If the data continues to go in the right direction, then North Carolina.
Alright, let's find another shot. See what we got here. I'll use a generic shot there.
If the data continues to go in the right direction, then North Carolina farmers will have another crop.
Go back to these guys standing here doing their thing. We'll do this. A shot of him.
The right direction, then North Carolina farmers will have another crop to root.
I'm going to delete that and bring this back to the beginning.
If the data continues to go in the right direction, then North Carolina farmers will have another crop to root for.
We are so excited because our farmers are.
There we go. And then we will do. I need another shot. I need another shot, y'all. Let's find a shot. That's a good shot right here of Charles and them looking at stuff. I need a tight shot. There we go.
Another crop to root for.
We are so excited because our farmers are excited. So that's what research for.
Charles used a pun there.
In Greensboro, Charles.
To root for. That was good. I like it, Charles. And then I need a closing shot. Did I use that shot yet? I didn't use that shot yet. Let's see if there's enough on this shot to make it work.
Research for.
In Greensboro, Charles Ewing, Fox 8 News.
Gonna leave about 3 seconds at the end. kill that off. I'm going to add my dissolves. I'm going to extend that out just a little bit. Nope, I don't need to do the end one, obviously. Need to add a couple of dissolves on that one. Control-Shift-D, and extend that out just a little bit to give it a little room to fade in.
It's broad ginger.
If the data continues to go in the right direction, then North Carolina farmers will have another crop to root for.
We are so excited because our farmers are excited. So that's what research for.
In Greensboro, Charles Ewing, Fox 8 News.
That should do it for that. I don't really need to do any color things or effects things in this one. It's just a straightforward, simple package. You know, one line of video, one line of audio for the track and sound bites, and one line of audio for the nat sound. Not a whole lot of specialty nat sound, but there you go. That is it. If there are any questions or any ideas about how to do something a little different in this, certainly let me know. But that is basically editing a package in a nutshell. And I didn't really use any special tools. That's what I would do most days for most straightforward day turns. Simple package right there. Let's watch it.
This A&T University Farm greenhouse is filled with tall green plants. Plants that could one day bring a lot of green to North Carolina farmers.
We try to find a solution and find another avenue for farmers to get more income.
The valuable resource is on the bottom of the plant. Ginger is huge because people are looking for natural ways to maintain their health.
Ginger is probably one of the most important spices. In people's diet, almost every day eat some ginger for most people.
Ginger can help fight the common cold, morning sickness, and chronic indigestion. It might even be helpful in some cancer treatments as well. So the popular spice comes with a big price tag.
Bimber ginger can be sold about up to $20 per pound in the farmer's market. So that's a great potential for farmers to grow and make some money.
Domestically, ginger is grown in Hawaii. The trick is, how do you get one of the 9 varieties of a tropical plant to grow in North Carolina? Or do you go in a new direction? Like most crops in North Carolina, you're looking for a high production and very little disease. Researchers here at A&T believe they found the right variety of ginger for North Carolina farmers to try. Researchers are using a technique called micropropagation, or tissue sampling, to produce a ginger plant that shows a lot of promise.
But our data shows the tissue culture ginger seedlings have a higher yield than the conventional seed sprout ginger.
If the data continues to go in the right direction, then North Carolina farmers will have another crop to root for.
We are so excited because our farmers are excited. So that's what research for.
In Greensboro, Charles Ewing, Fox 8 News.
There you go. That's it in a nutshell. About 35 or 40 minutes-ish on that. And pretty simple. You can certainly run into stores where we add graphics and add effects, and we'll work on that in the next video I do. But this should get you through a basic storytelling package fairly quickly. Thanks for watching.